Story is called Awesome. I can actually see now. I don't have to improvise. Nice, thank you. This story is called The Last Redemption of Bill. Every day, all day, Bill smells shit or burning hair. Bill asks everybody if they smell these things, and when they say no, what smell, dude? Bill thinks they're lying to him. Bill, your friendly neighborhood health inspector, thinks everybody lies to him. Only when Bill starts smelling the distinct odor of his wife's crotch does he begin to suspect something's well and truly wrong in the old noggin, because she's been dead for years. Not that Bill will see a doctor about his symptoms, no sir. Instead, he'll smoke and screw and snort the fear away, because a buzz always beats reality, and the idea of a tumor or an artery primed to blow is about as real as it gets. On Monday, Bill takes 200 hanky-soft bills from a corner market in exchange for overlooking a frisky roach, and uses it to purchase a few small bags of the finest chemical concoction some mutant could cook up in a kitchen sink, which he smokes in the front seat of his official government vehicle before driving to his favorite strip club, a fine institution that always earns an A when inspection time rolls around, in exchange for a regular gratis lunch of a burger and pints and a bored lap dance from someone who'd rather be anywhere but near him. We sense the disgusted look on your face. Really, what else do you expect poor Bill to do? Born with a nubby penis and a tendency towards obesity, the meat computer in his skull loaded from birth with buggy software, it's a miracle that Bill even made it this far. 1,000 years ago, he would have been a sex toy for Vikings on his way to becoming worm food. But we're going to help him, mostly because we don't have a choice. Bill is our home. We were born on a Greek cargo ship bound for the East Coast. Like many an immigrant before us, our childhood was messy and short. The sailors pushed the lever that dumped the bilge tanks, and we found ourselves floating off the scenic coast of New Jersey, where the current soon directed us to, and soon enough we sloshed through the speedy water park of the local waste treatment plant, where we slipped through a corroded filter on our way to Bill's kitchen tap, and from there to Bill's glass, and from there to Bill's stomach, which offered everything an enthusiastic young parasite could ever desire. Water, proteins, microbes on which to snack, and drugs. Lots and lots and lots of drugs. 3 hours late, but who's counting? Bill's crumpled soda can of a jalopy, his personal car, mind you, not that government-funded monster, murmurs its way into the lone empty parking space of a coffee shop near his house, the engine cutting out with a loud fart, Bill emerging in full Sunday morning glory. From his leather jacket, dry and cracked as the surface of Mars, he extracts a crumpled cigarette and torches up, exhaling a cloud of fragrant smoke. In that moment, taking a fresh jolt of poison into his bruised lungs, he seems almost human again. His spine straightens, his cheeks flush from corpse pale to heart attack red. His cloudy gaze clears into a speculative laser stare of ye olden days, when Bill could still put on a good show of walking the earth larger than life. Bill Power draws the cigarette, done in 4 long pulls, and crushes the leftover bit beneath his heel before heading inside, where his nephew Trent, a hot mess that much, jitters over his 7th cup of coffee. Bill takes a seat, offering Trent a close-up view of the wreckage, the bloodshot eyes and flaking lips and graying hairs corkscrewing from his chin. Bill had a bad week. 2 Chinese restaurants refused to pay his little toll, the nerve, and his Friday jaunt with his long-suffering girlfriend Janine ended with a bad case of whiskey dick. When the waitress arrives, he orders a cup of coffee and a donut. Rough night, Trent says. Oh kid, if you had any idea of what we endure. Every time Bill puffs down another cigarette or pops a pill of questionable origin or decides to drown his sorrows in a tide of flavored vodka, we feel it in the same way that a sailor, clinging to the railing of a freighter during a fierce storm, endures the next monster wave crushing over him. Once upon a time, it was fun to take that ride, but those days are fading in our metaphorical rearview mirror. We would hurl if we had a stomach. We would beg for mercy if we had a mouth, but neither of those are an option on the good ship Bill. Bill leans back in his seat, scanning Trent's liberal use of eyeliner, painted nails, the strands of fake pearls around his neck. He takes a loud sniff. What's that I smell? He rasps. Perfume? Trying to be presentable, you know. More like trying to get beat. Bill makes a great show of shrugging. Anyway, what do you need, kid? Your brother. Your father, you mean. Show some respect. He didn't leave me any money. That's why you call me? At 11 on a Sunday? Trent turns, checking his watch, into a piece of theater. The dramatics run deep in this family. Every slight, every comeback elevated to a level of Shakespeare, Yeah, and it's almost 2 when you show up. I know what time it is, Bill says. You're nearly 17, Trent. You can handle yourself, right? Trent opens his mouth to respond when the waitress comes around, bearing coffee in Bill's donut. And after she fills Bill's cup, he reaches out very delicately to pinch her sleeve. Holding her in place as he downs the cup in one swallow, places it back in the saucer, and cocks an eyebrow for a refill. The waitress raises the coffee pot as if to dump it in his lap, but fulfills the request. Everybody pities stray dogs. Anyway, Bill says, after emptying the second cup into his stomach, I got work all day. Don't you have a friend you can call? Nobody's picking up. Trent's breath hitches a little. We can see the boy trying hard not to let his voice waver. They're all sick of me. Nonsense, they're probably still asleep. Bill just crams his breakfast down his throat. You need cash? I got cash. I want you to take me with you. Where? To work. Show me what you do. You know what I do. Besides, it's Sunday. We don't usually do inspections on Sunday. I'm not talking about inspections. I'm talking about, the shakedown. This conversation's over. Bill half stands. Not if I tell someone at your office it isn't. Bill thumbs down. Come on, kid. Give me a break. Trust me, I'll find it fascinating, seeing how the world really works. Bill rolls his eyes. You don't know anything. Show me, Trent says, or I'll tell. Besides, I want to hang out with you. I never see you. Okay. He's a pushover, our Bill. He likes to think he's a tough guy. If you pour a couple drinks in him, he'll even try to act the part. But Bill knows he's a bottom feeder, and all bottom feeders like company. Trust us on this one. Bill has the guts to show the kid an actual workday. They hustle a diner over on Bedford, raking in a princely $90 before pulling into the gravel lot behind the Paradise Alley at 3:45. Bill shows the faintest modicum of decency by ordering his nephew to stay in the car while he goes inside for a minute. Poor kid. Hopefully he'll prove smart enough to crack a window within the next hour, lest he fry in the late afternoon heat like a dumb puppy. At least Bill left him the keys in case he wants to play the radio. Bill really means to have a shot of whiskey or two, the early dinner of champions. But he finds his best friend Frank at the bar loading up. Frank is a homicide dick who lives with his mother, snorts mountains of coke swiped from the evidence locker, and recites more Bible verses than a street preacher. He's such a walking contradiction, it's a wonder he can stride more than a block without vaporizing into thin air. His warring impulses cancel the map of existence like a negative subtracted from a negative. Maybe someday he will disappear. In Bill's highly suspect vision, Frank often shivers a bit, like a figure viewed across a wide stretch of desert. Frank deserves a parasite with his best interests at heart, but instead he needs to make do with the voices in his head. These bottom feeders, how do they find one another? Bill and Frank spend 20 minutes trading shots at the bar and making fun of the furnishings, which is easy to do in a place like Paradise Alley with its cheesy neon signage and Ratty's moose head over the bar. Bill's about to say adios and head back to the car when Frank claps him on the shoulder and asks him for a favor. Bill follows Frank to the parking lot, where Frank has parked his bright purple Cadillac, purchased for cheap at a police auction. Frank opens the trunk to reveal an ominous-looking bundle wrapped in white sheets and bound in duct tape. Bill looks around quickly at his car parked across the lot. He sees his nephew still in the passenger seat, head down, still playing with his phone. When Bill looks back at Frank, he sees the cop's cheeks shining with tears. Can you help me, buddy? Frank asks Bill. Bill doesn't even hesitate, because he knows Frank in his alcohol-powered lunacy is just as liable to pull his service pistol and decorate the gravel of Bill's brains as talk to him. Sure, says Bill, but all he wants to do is jump in his own car and peel away. Of all days for his nephew to just show up, why the hell did it have to be this one? I loved her, man, Frank says, his voice shaking, as the faucets in his eyes squeak open another notch. In Bill's fear-heightened state, where every sound and sight and smell is achingly acute, we can hear one of those teardrops spatter the ground. I'm sure, Bill says. I loved her. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Frank's hands, disappointed at being left out so far, begin to tremble along with his vocal cords. Let's take a ride. He tosses the keys over the roof. You're driving. Okay, Bill says. And ducks into Frank's car without looking back at his nephew, hoping the kid will stay parked behind the bar until, well, whenever. Bill feels the sudden pang of sadness at abandoning a relative. He fastens his seatbelt, takes the offered keys from Frank. The caddy starts with a vigorous roar that vibrates everybody's gelatin in the most pleasant of ways. The crucifix dangling from the rearview mirror swings wildly as Bill slams the gas and squeals the car out of the parking lot, and Frank claps his hands in delight like an over-caffeinated child. You have any sort of plan? Bill glances in the mirror in time to see his jalopy in pursuit, his nephew at the wheel. Maybe the kid is brave, but knowing how this family works is probably wishful thinking. He's probably just furious, or curious, or any of those lesser devils that drive us to do really stupid things. Yeah, I got a contact who owes me a favor, Frank says. Why we're trusting something this sensitive to a bunch of trust fund babies with hygiene issues is totally beyond my comprehension. But this is the situation and we're dealing with it. What? Bill doesn't quite follow. Frank cocks an eyebrow. Huh? What did I do to deserve this, Bill says, mostly to himself. Frank's already twisted his inner dial to a different channel. Did I ever tell you when I was a kid I was at the last show Nirvana ever played? I swear, there was not a man or woman in the place who did not want to drop to their knees and suck Kurt dry right there. That's not a very Christian impulse, buddy.
What is it?
That was a wrong thing to say, which Frank demonstrates by pulling his pistol and jamming it into Bill's neck. Spittle flying as he yells, "Show me where in the Bible it says that, you chunky motherfucker." Bill shakes his head, stunned into wise silence for once. Trapped inside his skin, we can do nothing but tighten up and hope for the best. In theory, part of us could execute some kind of acrobatic transfer through a bullet hole in Bill's spine, snap across the blood-humid space and down Frank's throat before he can do so much as holler. The odds of us pulling off something like that, with bodies moving so fast, are nil. And if we thought Bill's insides were terrifying, can you imagine what we would find inside Frank? Right, Frank says, grinding the barrel deeper. The Bible said nothing about going down on rock stars because rock stars hadn't even been invented when Jesus walked the earth. Can I get an amen? Amen, Bill mutters. In the rearview mirror, he sees his nephew still following them. You're damn skippy. Frank tucks away the pistol and flops back in his seat, recomposing his collar with a few deft tugs. For the love of God, Bill, why are you always so dense? It's how I was raised, Bill says. No learning up in those schools. Indeed, Frank reaches into his pocket, extracts a bright blue pill, and swallows it dry. That's not your kid, is it? Bill tries playing dumb. What kid? The one who's been following us since the bar. I'm a cop, buddy, remember? Oh, that's just my nephew, Bill chuckles. He's a good kid, he's fine. He's a witness. Frank's hand strokes the pistol grip jutting out of his pants. How close are you to him? He's fine, I said. You want me to lose him? Frank raises his eyebrows. No, let him file, then I'll deal with him. Given Bill's typical cowardice, there's a non-zero chance he'll let Frank shoot his nephew in the head. If only we could finally plug our tendril into his brainstem, maybe we could take control of the ship. But we have to do everything in there by feel, and that takes time. And time is something we don't have in abundance, because Frank gestures for Bill to take a right into an industrial wasteland, where we motor along the edge of a drainage ditch, spewing a huge cloud of dust in our wake. Trent, the idiot, follows right behind, not even bothering anyone to play it stealthy. Who's in the trunk, Bill says. He wrinkles his nose, smelling shit, but given the environs, it's hard to tell whether the scent is only in his head. My mother, Frank says, and starts unbuttoning his shirt. She tried to cross me on my big coke deal. You know what it's like getting shot by the woman who gave birth to you? It doesn't just hurt physically, man. He pulls his shirt open, revealing a nasty bruise just beneath his sternum. Good thing I always wear my bulletproof vest in the house. We take back everything we might have said about Bill's cowardice, because we can tell he's about to do something impulsive based on the soda-sweet tang of adrenaline flooding his bloodstream. We are on board with whatever plan, because we figured out a way to help him that doesn't involve plugging into his cortex. Instead, as his excitement peaks, we take our tendril that loops around a bundle of nerves and tendons in his calf and pull as hard as we can. Just as Bill reaches for Frank's pistol, his foot slams down on the gas pedal. The Cadillac slams forward and to the left, over the edge of the ditch and airborne, and Bill gets a loose hand on Frank's gun, which Frank has already pulled from his pants, gunshots bursting everyone's eardrums as the dashboard explodes. The car crunches into the far side of the ditch, and Frank, without a seatbelt holding him back, tumbles through the windshield with the greatest ease, his bones snap, crackle, popping on the way. While Bill gasps for oxygen like a beached whale, we perform a quick damage assessment. He'll have a nasty bruise across the man-tits and maybe a busted finger. Unlocking his seatbelt, he leans on the crumpled door until it pops open, spilling him onto the crumbled bank of the ditch. We hear brakes screech and Trent calling out Bill's name. Trent charges through the dust, pearls jangling, but Bill spares him only the briefest glance before turning to the nightmare that is Frank trying to stand on broken legs. His face glittering with all the broken glass embedded in his skin, his bloody hand still holding the pistol. Why'd you do that, man? Frank asks. He sounds offended. I couldn't let you hurt my family, Bill says. Maybe the first ethical sentence to leave his mouth in decades, and we swear we had nothing to do with it. We would applaud if we had hands. Well, you failed, Frank says, gritting his teeth in pain as he lifts the pistol. Trent sees the weapon aimed at him and spins on his heel, sprinting back for the car. Bill's beyond any fancy moves at this point, but we can help with the late-game assist. We yank the tendon again, tilting Bill into the path of the bullet. We assume this is what he wants, right? The hollow point slug plows through his side, clipping a kidney and ruining some blood vessels. But he'll live if we can get into a hospital on time, or if Frank doesn't shoot him between the eyes. That second outcome seems like a definite possibility as Frank hobbles forward, babbling something incoherent about God and vengeance and cocaine. The pistol rising again, ready to finish off Bill once and for all, when Bill's car bursts into a dust cloud and plows into Frank head-on, sending everybody's favorite crooked cop through the windshield for a second time in one day. Behind the wheel, panicked Trent keeps the gas slammed down until the car rolls into the side of the crashed Cadillac. Frank's feet drumming the hood while his face sputters blood all over the dashboard. Trent kneels beside bloody Bill, his phone pressed to his ear. "Tell Janine," Bill says. "Janine who?" Trent says, in between asking emergency service to haul ass down here. "Tell her I love her," Bill says. Bill will have an opportunity to do so himself. Only a few more minutes and the ambulance will arrive, which will ferry Bill to a hospital where doctors will perform all the diagnostics he so desperately needs. They'll throw him in a scanner and hopefully pick up whatever's making him smell the oddest things. But wait, you ask, won't they find you as well? Oh crap, maybe we didn't think this one through. Is it worth going through our possible death knowing that we've helped Bill become a better person? Of course not. We send a tendril at Bill's throat, proposed to shoot out his open mouth. If Trent would only lean a little bit closer and stay still for a second or two, we can move out of Bill for good. We'll always love our first home, but a big part of life is knowing when to say goodbye.